Capital Planning Committee on December 16th. It's 7:20 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. I'm not sure we have a quorum.
Oh, until you
It's
get
just
Janet
John
or
and
Eloise.
I.
Yeah.
Eloise
right.
and or Janet to sign on, just as I think that. But I don't know that we have any decisions to make, so we certainly can listen to everybody's presentations.
Yeah, there's no attendees, so I can text Janet and see if she's coming in. All
Okay.
right.
And I can't remember the order of go. I think it was Victoria with Council on Aging to start. Am I?
Yes.
Right on that. So lovely to meet you, Victoria. Thank you for coming so much to Capital Planning. And do you want to tell us about your projects and intent while we wait for Janet?
Sure. I had a PowerPoint presentation, if that's all right. I can share my screen.
That's amazing. Please.
It's just, yeah. Okay.
One of us is technically competent, Anna. Not me.
All right. So as you can see here, we have a capital planning request in place that the Council on Aging made back a few months ago. And it's just about expanding our space. So as of right now, the capital planning request that was submitted was discussing about looking at fiscal years 23 through 26. The total requested was 215,000, but that is just an extremely rough estimate. The request submitted was talking about us looking at exploring potential uses of buildings in town to create a senior / potential community or multi-purpose center for town to basically meet the needs of the seniors as well as meet the needs for other departments as well that can be benefiting from this. So as I said, FY23 would be looking at potential uses of buildings in town. Fiscal year 24 and 25 would be looking into construction estimates and repairs. And then as of 26, it could be a potential opening for a space. And again, there's a lot of different factors that are going into this. There's nothing set in stone as of yet. One of the factors to be considered is, do we want this to be even a regional space where we would be teaming up with another community or communities, as well as other departments to make it, again, a multi-purpose kind of center. So just a general cost comparisons. I've gotten research from 10 other towns that have done feasibility studies about senior centers and what they have done. So a lot of other towns have had recent renovations and or have created senior centers from scratch. Not saying that we have to do one or the other, just general facts out there. Looking at these other towns, their costs for senior centers have ranged from anywhere from $1 to $13 million. Now, obviously, with Berlin's needs, we would probably be more towards the smaller end of that scale versus the larger end. But, again, it would depend on if we were able to renovate a potential building versus if we had to build something from scratch. You'd be looking at the amount of square footage, basically what is the building going to entail, things like that. And just to kind of put everybody at ease a little bit, the city of Brockton did receive $1 million from the state from the latest ARPA funding solely for their senior center. So it is good news to see that the state is recognizing that other cities and towns are in need to either renovate or complete a senior center. So that is, again, some good news for us as we explore this further. So just in general, general next steps is really working with the Berliners to really get a sense from them regarding a senior and or community center, as well as working with other departments as applicable. We have reached out to the Recreation Committee and they are on board if they're able to designate some space. If we did a multi-purpose center, if we could incorporate recreation with that. We've been in touch with the veterans, same thing, again, if it's a service with their services as well, if we can have it be a potential building that would incorporate their needs as well as the Council on Aging and / social services, that would be wonderful. Again, contacting other towns to see if a regional center is feasible. I know that for Berlin, they have a regional school district with Boylston. You know, there is a potential out there of a regional senior center. Again, it would minimize the costs to Berliners, but it would also give us access to potential additional funding sources if we were to look at something that's going to meet the needs of multiple towns. We would need to designate a feasibility study. Just a rough estimate of that would be about 50,000. Now, again, that's a very rough estimate, but what we could do is again, assess the buildings, properties, land in town and or another community if we went the regional approach, and see, you know, maybe narrow it down to like 2 locations and see, again, just having the study really look at those and seeing what the potentials would be for those those 2 locations, pros, cons, things like that. We are going to be getting more details regarding building availability in Berlin, as well as any potential land, and then really work hard to find any additional funding sources, whether it be state or federal, and or potential grants that we may come across to help subsidize the costs. I have been working with Margaret, and there is a state proposal out there called Community One, where towns and cities of Massachusetts can submit proposals to the state, and that they can be eligible, I believe, for up to $300,000 to go to various projects. So I told Margaret that I am working on a Community One blurb for the Council on Aging Social Services regarding this multi-purpose center idea and how it is needed to meet the needs of Berliners. And as I mentioned previously, there is some ARPA funding that could be an option. And then again, depending on the future funding that we would be getting from ARPA from the federal government. Again, if we can prove the need of it relating to social services, to seniors' well-being, to mindfulness, basically anything relating, I think, to the COVID, COVID needs, things like that, we may be able to bridge the gap and may potentially be able to appropriately use some ARPA funding if needed. So this is just a general outline of what the steps as a whole that will need to be taken, just to look to see, again, the steps for a senior/community center. Again, nothing is set in stone as of this point. We know that this is going to be a very long-term process. We are not, expecting anything tomorrow. And we know that, Berliners, as well as every committee and every department, are going to need to be inundated, need to be in on the updates on any potential ideas as we go. I do think that as a whole, Berlin is continuing to grow, especially towards the senior population. And we really just need a place where people can come together, that they can have, like a recreation point, a senior point, if they needed social services, if they needed veterans help, kind of make it a one-stop shop. And I think that if we are able to make a building like this, it, again, will be able to use different departments, different resources, which then may be able to make it easier for funding purposes. So as I have listed here, like I said, just the different overall bullet points, just to get, the steps needed for a senior or community center. So that is what I had for you all tonight.
Great.
Any questions?
Thank you, Victoria. I have a bunch of questions. So looking at your capital project request for FY23, I'm hoping you can just walk us through your financials. So it looks like for this year, you're asking for $10,000 for the feasibility study, and then next year, potentially $35,000, and then the year after that, another $25,000. Can you sort of explain those steps to me?
So yes, so for this upcoming fiscal year, the $10,000 is really looking more towards the feasibility as to what it is. If we had a specific building in mind, what can we use it for? I know previously when I had worked on this, Margaret was saying that she was looking to do overall a town assessment of the various buildings in town and just kind of the strengths and weaknesses of it. This 10,000 would be in addition to whatever that would be. I know that has been curtailed, that may have been curtailed a little bit. So again, the $10,000 for a feasibility study could even go towards us, getting surveys out to the residents of Berlin, us talking with people and just getting general ideas as to what it is, if we did get this center, what it is that we can offer, what is it that we need to have, what are we lacking currently from any building in town that we would need to address going forward. For the additional fiscal years of FY24 and FY25, we are looking at the money regarding any improvements. Again, if we a site that was designated, just again, looking at the basics of any improvements or designing that would need to be done. So like if, say, for example, there was a building in town that could be renovated to accommodate these needs, that funding would go solely to that. And then for FY25, if needed, again, any equipment or furnishings that would be accompanied with that. Now, like I said, I understand that this request is, again, just like a very, I guess, like a smaller blueprint as to what it is that we know that we're going to need as a whole. And we understand that this, it coming by FY26 is probably not going to happen. I mean, it could, but again, being realistic, probably not. It was just the idea of just putting down just some figures just to get the ball rolling.
We have definitely talked within capital planning about our charter as to determining or maintaining a list of buildings and assets, and then determining how those assets are viable for the town and what assets are viable for the town. So we've definitely investigated the possibility of feasibility studies regarding buildings. Would the Council on Aging, is there a way for us to work together on that so we're not spending twice as much money for redundancy? Would you guys be willing? And Peg's raising her hand. After Victoria says she's willing, then Peg, you can say what you want.
I mean, I don't want to speak for the council, but I definitely think that's something that we would definitely be willing to investigate. Like you said, it's for the purpose, it kills two birds with one stone, and it serves the purpose of everybody. I mean, like I said, I don't want to speak for the council, but I can't see them having any objections to that.
Okay, Peg.
And I can tell you, we asked Fred to do an inventory of several of the town buildings. I forget what they called it, but there's the building next to the pond by the tennis courts. And then there's, I think they called it the chicken coop, which is the white building. And then there's another barn. And then there's the old highway barn. So he went through and he did a really good inventory of what's in there. So now I think we're probably getting to the point to decide what needs to go and what just like got dumped in there because, well, no one wanted it. And here's the kitchen drawer. So put it in there. Margaret was looking at a study, a grant, but is kind of going to go with plan B, is that she's going to reach out to various committees to basically go on a tour of all the available buildings in town. And she has a checklist that she's stolen from other towns that she's used to basically say, this one's good, this one just needs a match lit to it, and off it goes type of thing. And then take that information and then apply for that grant to actually get somebody in. So let, Carolyn, I think that, conservation was tossed out there, planning was tossed out there, ZBA, to try and go through and get that. So there's some legwork up front by some in-town committees. Oh, Anna's frozen. Everyone's moving.
Oh.
Anna, you're like whack-a-mole.
Did everybody, for you guys, everybody froze except for me, and I'm just talking to myself?
No, we were all jiggling. No, all right, so Reader's Digest, there's going to be a subcommittee to pull together to go around and take a tour of the buildings, and for us to do the legwork, and then for Margaret to do the grant. So, I don't know. If you look at all the buildings in town, I'm thinking the most logical one is probably the old the old highway barn, but I don't know what's in there. I don't know what's on the floor. So
the COA van's in there. I can tell you that.
The COA what went there?
The van.
Our van.
Yeah.
We store it there for wintertime just because it's not safe for anybody to try to clear off ice off a 9-foot tall van.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Anna, it's moving. So yeah, this would
Yeah.
probably be even a bigger joint committee with
Yeah.
you guys, us, Victoria, and anybody else who's looking for space, food
Yeah.
pantry people to try and help.
Yeah, I totally would agree with that. I just don't want us to be redundant in our, let's all get independent surveys.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Okay. Anybody with any other questions, John or Janet, for Victoria?
Where are they meeting now? Yes.
So currently we are in the town offices. We're in the basement. We're meeting in room 118. We are sharing this space partially with food pantry. They have a fridge and some storage in there, and the Boy Scouts meet in that room on Wednesday nights. We've tried our best to maximize the space. If any of you have been down there, we got some hooks and we've been able to put a lot of the durable medical equipment on the wall, hidden behind a shade to just try to get some more floor space back, but we're pretty limited to what we can do down there.
Yeah.
I know I'm a senior. I should probably use it.
We'll pick you up in the van. We'll drive you down. Not a problem. Oh, there's kind of sort of Janet, not really.
I was gonna say, I see something from Janet.
Can't figure out how to get my video to work. It's never ever been like this before. So it's a technical issue tonight, and I'm blaming Peg because she started it all.
I already blamed Carolyn, so you know what? It's not it.
Sure, whatever. It's been such a week for me anyway. That this is the least of my issues.
It's all good. Okay.
Janet, what is it doing?
So Janet, do you have any questions for Victoria?
No.
It looks
No,
like
no.
some sort of light reflection.
I'm trying to figure out where my camera is on this new computer, and it's like I don't know. It must have broke or something because it's up here. All right, I'm just going back to this. Goodbye.
So I'm guessing she has no questions.
Well, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out. And thank you also very much for your time.
No, thank you. I appreciate you putting up with us.
All good. Oh, there she is.
Upside down.
Thank you, Victoria.
Thank
as
you
always,
so much,
lovely to see
Victoria. Really appreciate
Thank you
your time.
guys. Take care.
you. I need to come to your meetings more often.
They're not usually this much fun, Peg. You really started a trend here.
Right.
Or this lighthearted. They're often very fun. They're
Okay.
I
not.
look like I'm an astronaut there.
I know, doesn't she?
Upside down.
Yeah.
Except her hair's not floating.
I know, it's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Oh.
Chief Shartner, it's your turn now to talk to us about Tahoes and other things.
All right, so I'm not going to be talking about Tahoes tonight. Unfortunately, they're already sold out for 2022. Believe it or not, you cannot order them anymore. And I've also reminded that we are a community for hybrids. So I did get a quote on a hybrid cruiser, which I think Margaret disseminated today. Did you get that?
I saw it last week.
Yeah, I just sent it to her this morning. There should have been another attachment today. So we're actually down to 52,888.10 versus 53.3, I think, for the hybrid Explorer versus the Tahoe.
Great.
So the current cruiser that we budgeted for, that we got money for last spring, they finally found it. We're supposed to have it in August. The dealership since changed hands, the company, and they finally found it about 3 weeks ago. So I just solidified that within the last 3 days. And unfortunately, even though we budgeted more than enough last spring, our quote was outdated. And with inflation, there's a $1,300 difference in price between what we're quoted last spring versus what we can get now. But I already spoke with Margaret about that, and we'll just have to take that out of our budget Obviously, we're not funded for it, but yeah, so next year, I'm just looking for one car. We are gonna have to go for two cars one of these years. I know we're supposed to keep these cruisers for 5 years. Currently, we're replacing a 6-year-old cruiser. Next year, we'll have two 6-year-old cruisers, but I am taking one of those as my car versus keeping it in the fleet, and the officers will get the newer cars. Hopefully so we can push it off a year. My current car is going to the fire department because they were going to be looking for an inspectional vehicle next year at the cost of around 42 or 44,000. I'm going to give them the Chevy Volt, which will save the town from having to buy the fire department another car. And I'll take one of the old cruisers, so I don't have two cruisers this year to replace the two 6-year-old cars. I'll limp one through for a year or so. So that's my spiel tonight. I basically need a little under 53,000 for replace a car.
So how many cruisers do we have?
Right now, when you define cruisers, we have 5 patrol cars
Okay,
and we have 1 administrative car.
right.
So I'm getting rid of the administrative car. I'm going to take a patrol car. So we'll have 6 patrol cars in the fleet versus 5 and 1.
Okay,
So, I'm a staunch believer. I was hired as a working chief. I want a vehicle that I can work out of. I don't want a vehicle to commute to work in. I want a vehicle that I can work out of. And the current vehicle is not something you can work out of.
why not? Not
Too
that I doubt you,
small-
I'm curious.
Too small, can't carry equipment. I can't wear a vest in it. I can't wear a gun belt in it. It's not designed for police work. It's a economical, very well built hybrid car for a business person to travel in, not for a police officer to get in and out of.
So how do you think this will work with our current, I'm going to say, schedule of vehicle replacement? So traditionally, we've been doing 1 vehicle every year, theoretically
Yeah, so-
replacing our entire fleet every 5 years. So will this make
Well,
that every 6?
Well, I'm trying to, right now we are on the 6-year rotation. We haven't hit the 5-year rotation in quite a few years. We've limped cars through, we reassigned cars. The only thing that saved us is COVID, because we went 6 months with, instead of 25,000 miles per car per year, it was probably 18,000 miles per car per year. So I'm hoping that with the transition of taking one of the old cruisers, putting a new cruiser in the fleet, we can actually survive maybe 2 more years before we have to buy double cars in one, because we have 6 cars, we're supposed to turn the fleet over every 5 years. And obviously, so 1 year we have to buy 2 cars. And I'm trying to hold that off for at least, another until FY24, versus next year. Because right now we have 2 2016s. I'm going to take one of those 16s because I maybe do 4,000 or 5,000 miles a year. And I'll take that and I'll get it through a year, so we can push it off till FY24 to do a double purchase.
And the Volt is fairly new, correct?
Yep, yeah, the Volt's a 2018. It's got 45,000 miles on it. So if it goes to the fire department, they won't be asking for a new car next year, and that should last them probably 5 years.
And do you know the current vehicle they're using for inspections?
Currently, they're using the brush truck because the old cruiser that we gave them has been broken down for about 7 months. And the cost of repair is probably 5,000 or 6,000. So they never repaired it.
Okay. I think I'm out of questions. John, Janet, anybody?
No, not right
No,
now.
I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know Chief Clark talked to you, on that capital request I did put in for a radio. Our radios are, we got those radios, I think in 2004 that are currently in the cruisers, and we got those used from the 1990s. So we are in desperate need of radio replacement. I know I had originally put on the Tahoe, I think it was $9,000 for a new radio. The radios we have in the cars, I think, were $800 back in 2004. They don't make them anymore. Obviously, if they made $800 radios, it'd be a static. But we're also now using what we call tri-band radios. When I was talking to Chief Clark about that, I think we should do a public safety article for the radio purchase for the police and fire versus individually doing it for each car.
Okay, so more of a public service article.
Yeah. I just don't think it's it's not fair to attach a $9,000 radio to already a very expensive car. I like the hybrids, but when we're spending $53,000 and 5 or 6 years from now, the trade-in value on that car is $5,000. Or if we spend $600 more on a Tahoe, we trade that vehicle in 5 years, the residual value is probably $28,000. You're talking, a pretty decent, significant price difference between the two. So, I look at return on the investment. I am a green person, but I also believe in the taxpayers are our stakeholders, and they definitely deserve the return on investment.
Okay. Peg, I saw you raise your hand.
So Eric, I understand that there's a nominal difference between a Tahoe and a hybrid one, but what are we looking at in terms of gas money? Because where Berlin is a green community, that's something that we need to keep in to look at. So if, I'm just going to do easy math because Peg likes easy math. Tahoe is $100, hybrid is $90, but you're spending $800 in gas. Now, all of a sudden, it's not a nominal difference.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it. I mean, I understand we're a green community. I've got the luxury of having a neighbor that's a battery engineer. And, you figure we talk about carbon emissions and, how we're trying to save the communities. If you knew the emissions that it took to put those batteries together in another country, we're just putting lipstick on a pig. The amount of pollution it causes to make those batteries, the future mining of lithium, we don't want to mine coal, but, we're going to start digging up our ground to mine lithium using diesel machines. And, so I 100% believe in green. I truly believe that we should have a building littered with solar panels, creating our own energy here. I have it at my own house. I'm very conservative in my house and very green at my house. But like I said, I'm 100% behind. I am going to check with Hudson. Hudson's changing their fleets over to Tahoes because of the price differences are so minimal. And I'm going to ascertain what their fuel costs, are averaging on those vehicles. Because that is definitely a concern. I mean, I don't want to spend, $20,000 in fuel in 5 years, because you're really not net gaining anything.
Yeah, and I think that's it. We need to look at our green communities information and see it, that to me would be like the key factor. I know there's a link that
I don't want people to think like I don't want to turn our fleet into Tahoes, but we do need one command vehicle, in the police department that can be used as a command vehicle. It would be a supervisor's car. It wouldn't be a frontline patrol vehicle every day. It'd be just like the pickup truck we have now. But it would turn into a supervisor's car. You're talking probably 15 to 16,000 miles a year versus a patrol car that averages 25,000 miles a year. So I mean, it's more for holding equipment.
Yeah. All right.
But you're looking for a patrol car to do that.
What's that?
But you're looking for a patrol car, I don't know, type or style for next year we'll stick with the SUVs that we currently have. I believe it. I'm behind them 100%. I mean, everybody here likes them. It took some adjusting because the gas pedal is on a hinge. So it's more like a golf cart than it is like a gas pedal pushing on a car. And then it has regenerative braking. So you let off the gas, the brakes, the motor slows it down. But, we haven't had any complaints on the vehicles. I was just looking for, if I'm going to be replacing the supervisor's car, I want to make sure it's a command vehicle and available. I mean, a classic example was the fire down in Gates Pond Road. Chief Clark pulls up in his Expedition, pops open the hatch, starts working out of the hatch. I pull up in the Volt and I park between, the stone wall and the road. And then his truck broke down and we lost the command vehicle.
halfway through a major incident with, we have 44 firefighters and 6 police officers there, we lost the command vehicle, halfway through the incident. So my idea is to buy a duplicitous vehicle to the fire departments, because obviously the fire department vehicle is not in town all the time. And where the police would have this command vehicle in town 24/7.
I know that Margaret sent a note out, and Eric, I don't see you wanted, it went to capital planning. Oh, Anna, it went to you. And it had a link on it for a good online search tool for different cars. So,
Yeah.
Just want to make sure that that is.
Yeah. You know what? We're in a pretty weird predicament right now because, I mean, just buying cruisers, I'm usually the one that buys the cruisers. I'm not the one that has to buy them. I'm usually at the dealership working the deals and, finding the best bang for our buck. Getting the price quotes, doing the spreadsheets to find out what the best vehicle is for us. But we're down to 2 companies that we can use to buy police vehicles from. And, Colonial Municipal Group and MHQ. And, where I used to deal, I'd walk in the office, there'd be like 12 or 14 salespeople. Now there's 2. I called MHQ for a quote on this car a week and a half before Thanksgiving. They've yet to call me back. It's becoming a very difficult market. And when I was speaking with the salesman, there's no obligation. I did order a 2022 because they're taking on average 26 weeks to come in from the date of order. So when they put their order in January, they will order a gray car. I mean, we're not financially obligated to it, but I did do the little preemptive strike of ordering the car because we're in the same predicament now. I mean, we got a car that we're limping through and, kind of saying, oh, do we run it? Don't we run it? I mean, because this car should have already been replaced and we still don't have it. We're looking around February 21st of getting it. These cars we usually have in July or August, and we're looking at February of getting the next car.
Is that last year's car or this new car that we're talking about now?
No, last year's car. The one we voted at
Oh.
last May town meeting is still not in.
Yeah.
Maybe it's in, but now we're waiting for the lights. For a vehicle to operate, they talk about the chip shortage. For a vehicle to operate, they need 1 chip. For the light package, there's 4 chips. So the light, obviously the automobile dealerships or automobile manufacturers have more clout and more buying power than the light companies. So you know who's getting the chips first when they're available.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Questions for Chief Shartner? No. No. Janet, I just see your head shaking. Oh, there were hands for a moment.
At least I'm right side up. It's a plus. I got that far.
Oh, I think everybody is frozen on me again.
No, Anna,
Do a
we're
little dance.
moving. I see Eric moving, Carolyn
Could you hear me?
smiling.
Oh, I hear you, Peg.
Can
Oh, there I come back.
Can somebody hear
It's totally
me?
me. In the
Hello?
wilds of Florida.
Janet, I hear you.
Yes.
Oh.
Hi, Janet, I can hear you. Yep. Okay.
Now I'm back.
So thank you. Okay, I think, oh, and Eloise showed up. Eloise, do we have any questions about electric energy efficient vehicles for our green communities for Chief Shartner?
She's coming back, Anna. I had to
Yeah.
promote her as a panelist.
Oh, okay. She's just our resident green communities expert.
You're on mute.
What was the
Eloise.
question? I'm sorry, I'm also trying to be on the school committee meeting in Maynard as the nurse, and it's been a little bit like trying to do 2 things at once with this whole thing. So did I heard a question asked, but was that for Eloise?
She's unmuted now.
Today my Zoom is really messing up. Last night it was Lynn Ryan's, right, Carolyn?
Now Carolyn's on mute and talking. Honest to God, we are the land
Anyway,
of, we are the land of misfit toys.
Yes, poor
Margaret,
Lynn.
Margaret
Lynn-
sent an email which she CC'd to me to Kelly Brown, our energy coordinator, asking if there were alternatives for like the Tahoe. And to the best of my knowledge, Kelly gave an answer back, but she didn't answer the question.
John answered the question, Eloise. So who's John? John must be another fuel efficient guy. He said Chevy Tahoe start at 53, the comparable and much more fuel efficient 2.3 4-cylinder turbo 300 HP versus V8 Chevy. Ford Explorer starts at 37, reasonably loaded, can be had for about 43.
That was me. Yeah.
No, that was you?
So-
Good
Yes,
man.
Yay.
Good man, John.
I don't have my quote in front of me. We actually, I can tell you the 2022 Ford is 36,799. So basically 37,000. The Tahoe is 38,000 on the state bid. Like we don't pay the list prices. We get 18% off or whatever it is. So yeah, it's 38,000. It's another $1,000. But believe it or not, the equipment that goes in a Tahoe is actually, I was shocked, is a little bit cheaper than what goes into the Explorers because they need more engineering to go in the Explorers to fit in a tighter spot. And they have to fit it around the battery because, matter of fact, the battery is under the prisoner cage in those cruisers, which is one of our biggest concerns. You know, we're always staying vigilant on that. You know, I'm sure if you follow our Facebook, about 8 weeks ago, we had a woman driving down 62 in a BMW i3. Her check engine light went on. She got out of the car. People were screaming at her, and her whole back of her car was on fire.
Wow.
And it was her batteries. It was her batteries that caught on fire. And there was like 4 explosions. I think there was 4 cells. And I got on the line with BMW because we couldn't find the cutoff switch. And they said, oh, that's easy. Just open up where the gas cap would be, where you plug in. And under that's a lever, switch it to the left. I said, well, that's fantastic, but that whole side of the car was melted off. So there was no emergency shut off. So we ended up, I think we put the fire out like 3 or 4 times. And then we got done with this large blob of black goo that was the battery. And you know, we tried calling multiple agencies to say, what do we do with this battery? It has to be hazardous materials. And everybody just put their hands up basically on the phone and said, sorry, we can't help you. We're not versed in that yet. You know, which was shocking, you know, because I figured, okay, you know, this is going to be a hazardous materials call, you know, what do we do with this battery that just melted on Route 62? You know, what do we do with it? Got thrown back in the car and went to the scrapyard. You know, and then when I made reference that to my neighbor who's a battery engineer, like he nearly freaked out. He's like, no, that's hazardous material. I'm like, I don't know what to do. You know, like the car's already gone. I think BMW came and took it. You know, I'm sure BMW grabbed that right back. The engineers probably wanted that car right back to figure out what happened.
Did they all have black suits on?
I don't know.
White hazmat,
I wasn't for that. I mean, I just felt bad for the girl because, you know, she has the same issues that all of us do about being better to our environment. And, you know, she lost her life savings on this car. You know, it was a car that was well beyond her means, but she wanted to do good for the environment. And, you know, so I felt bad for her. I mean, the chance of replacing that are slim to none, you know, especially with the vehicle shortage.
Yeah, it was especially right now.
Yeah.
The fire chief gave us an estimate for his Tahoe was $53,000.
Yeah,
why I
yeah,
mentioned
yeah. So that 53,000's got about $9,000 worth of equipment in it, or 10. Well, actually, the Tahoe that I had been on, I think had almost $13,000 worth of equipment in it. You know, that's, you know, the prisoner cage, the rifle racks, the consoles, because nothing fits anymore. When I started buying cruisers, I started getting involved in buying cruisers in '98. You know, I had a '98 cruiser, and I transferred those lights into my 2002. Then I transferred those lights into my 2006. Then I transferred them in my 2010. You know, so the models never changed, so we could transfer equipment. Now, like every 4 years or 5 years, they're changing the models, and we can't take the cage from 2016, you know, which is $3,100, and put it in a 2021. it doesn't fit anymore. So now we're forced, the consoles don't even fit. The consoles are $650. You know, the metal consoles, they don't fit anymore. Even the gun racks don't fit anymore. Like nothing will retrofit other than our radio and our computer. Which is, you know, like I said, I remember I used to, my first cruiser I picked up, I'm kind of embarrassed to say it, I brought a check to Commonwealth Chevrolet for $9,000. You know, it has changed, you know. I mean, I joked with one of the persons that broke me in back in 1993, and you know, we joked, we used to have 8 strobe lights on a cruiser and we thought we were amazing. Now we have 12 LEDs in the front and 20 in the back, and it's never enough, you know. So
Any other questions for Chief Schreiner? Discussions? No? Okay, great. Thank you so much, Chief, for reviewing that for us.
all right, yeah, I'm available. Any questions? I'm available, and you know, I'll see John for coffee in the morning probably.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like I
he
said,
can quiz you then.
yeah, absolutely. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, Carolyn, you're up. Let's talk about.
Let's talk about land. So this is the request for the other half of the amount of money that we're going to be looking for CPA funds. I think the lack of anything at town meeting shows the level of support for this in town. I was shocked. I was shocked that nobody had any questions at all. We have yesterday we sent in our letter of intent to the state for the MVP grant. The grant is not due, the final filing isn't due for a while, but they're taking letters of intent and kind of some basic paperwork so they can give feedback so that you can have a successful application. And they said the earlier you get that in, the better. So we got that in yesterday. And it wasn't even due till the end of January. So we're hoping that will be a successful endeavor. So, and that will be a reimbursement. So we will still need to go ahead and ask for this money at town meeting to then get reimbursed probably. It should, if we get the grant. But if we get the grant, the money will go back into CPA funds. So
this is all allocated out of CPA funds, and do those funds exist, or are we still waiting to hear?
they actually do. We got the state. We were one of, I think, either 7 or 11 towns in this last round, in the last distribution from the state that got 100% match. So between what we collected through the surcharge in town and what we got from the state, the town got $560,000. So, you know, more than $500,000. And then I actually just got an email today from the CPA Coalition. There's another $10 million to be distributed from the budget surplus, state budget surplus from FY21. I know. So I don't know. This is our first go around with all of this, but I read it a couple of times. I'm like, really? So how are they going to make that work? I have no idea how that'll work, but we should be getting some extra money.
So if you're 490 and some percentage has to be put into recreation and into historic, right?
Yep.
Open space, recreation.
Well,
historic,
open space and rec are one category, historic and affordable housing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if there's 560 and it's something like 10% in each, doesn't that leave you with like 300,000, but you're looking for 490?
That could be.
Okay.
That could be. We just had a meeting last night and we were just starting to talk about the numbers for the annual town meeting. So it may not, the request for CPA may not end up being that much money.
Okay.
Anna,
Yes, Eloise, please.
you have to realize that the designated accounts get 10% automatic. But there's and then we hold 5% for management costs.
Mhm.
You know, if we need an appraiser, postage, whatever.
Mhm.
But the different categories can then go into the undesignated.
Right.
They are
Yeah.
not restricted to their designation. And we could be getting another batch of money around March.
Oh, yeah?
Yep, which only goes to those towns that voted 3% on their surcharge.
Of which we're one of a handful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're like, there's 11.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was just sort of rounding up my math, saying 560, 10% of that is 56 into two different buckets.
Right, which is
And then
168.
yeah.
Yep.
So somewhere 300-ish, but I don't know I'm not sure if there's any left over from before.
There
last
wasn't,
distribution, yeah.
right. So,
Um,
Can
I ask
When-
a question of Carolyn?
Mm-hmm.
Has the price been finalized?
yes.
Okay,
As far as I know, the option with SVT still hasn't been signed. What was their attorney? Oh, they were waiting for their attorney to, their attorney they had a question for their attorney about something that was in the agreement. And they didn't hear back, so nobody did anything. Krista poked them a couple, like last week or the week before, and their attorney was like, oh yeah, sorry, we'll get back to you soon. So it's not anything on the Laura's part that, at least that we know of.
Okay.
Yep. And Anna, when I had to fill out this paperwork for your deadline, I believe we had just gotten the state money, or we hadn't even gotten the state money, so it's all been
not,
kind
yeah.
of, yeah.
no, it came in a week after the November 8th special meeting.
Right.
Right, which is
Everything's
2
normal.
weeks after our deadline.
Yeah,
Yep. So, the CPA committee is pretty dedicated to not recommending more money to town meeting than we have
Mhm.
in CPA, not using estimated funds, using actual funds for the most part. So it's all up for, massaging.
So you keep us updated.
Yep.
Perfect. Any other questions, John, Eloise, for Carolyn?
no, I'm satisfied.
Okay. John, you good?
No,
Janet?
all set.
Okay, I think we're good.
Peg.
Yeah, Peg, you have to raise your hand. So she must
No,
not
I-
have anything to say.
I don't have any questions. If I would, I'd be like, no, I save all my questions for the selectmen meeting and drive them insane. So yeah, you guys are good. Mhm.
Excellent.
Okay, great. Well, we look forward to staying updated, Carolyn, and
Absolutely.
moving forward together.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Good
Great.
night.
Thank you so
everybody.
much.
Have a nice holiday.
Okay.
Oh, you too, Carolyn.
All right.
Yeah. Happy
Bye.
New Year.
Bye.
Bye. So capital planning, that is sort of our agenda for the evening. Does anybody have any issues or considerations they want to bring up or discuss?
The only thing I have is what's left.
That's an excellent question. Let me see if I can figure it out. Planning board,
Why the planning board?
they're looking for their, and I don't know if this even requires discussion on our part, but they're looking, I think it's for the 5,000 for their master plan.
Right, but does that meet our floor?
Yeah, that's why I just said I don't know that they need to come and speak with us because it's a sort of a common request for us. That and our discussion of a facilities assessment, we have yet to move forward on determining if we're going to start moving forward on a facilities assessment request and what the cost of such an assessment would be. So we have to interview ourselves.
Janet?
Isn't, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't Margaret also looking into some feasibility assessment, Peg, that we're looking at as well? Okay, it's the same, we're talking all about the same. We're not each doing something separate. Okay.
No.
My only question is, does anybody else prefer to meet in person rather on Zoom? That's my question.
So I do think that other members have expressed desires to meet in person as, I'm going to say as well as on Zoom, but that's not quite, instead of on Zoom. This one for me, I'm out of town and we had several members in different places at the moment. So that's, or different attendees in different places at the moment. So that was
I
today.
just find it really hard to do this Zoom thing. I'm sorry. Plus I do it all day. So it gets, and I'm Zooming here for my other meeting too, you know, so anyways.
I agree, Janet. I am better off. I prefer in person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to, moving forward, continue what we had been doing the last couple of meetings where some or most of us were in person, and then we had the Zoom channel open for those people who didn't want to be.
That's what we're
person or-
doing for finance committee.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, just food for thought. No worries about me.
So I would
I'm
say
not even really a committee member, so.
Yeah, you can't vote, so how dare you suggest?
Okay,
No,
so I make a motion that we have all our this is a joke, all our future meetings in person. I'll vote aye.
I second that.
Yeah, right. I am not going to call that to a vote because Janet can't vote.
No.
Yeah, and Anna, think of how much fun you would not have had tonight if this was an in-person meeting.
Exactly. I mean, Peg wouldn't have even attended because we wouldn't have, needed her support, and it would not have been as much fun.
Just saying.
I wouldn't have been upside down or blurry or all of that.
Oh, come on. If I didn't have Florida internet, I would have been here the whole time.
Did any of you get my email that said that hold on, or no one even bothered to check their emails?
Oh, I got it. I responded every time.
Well, I didn't respond once I sent it because I was also trying to do my other meeting while this one wasn't going on.
I was conversing with you via email and you never even acknowledged.
Wow. Anna, I
right.
did.
You did. Yes, Peg and I, we were good.
Saying,
All right, are we done?
Okay.
Because I really want to get to this.
I think we're done unless anybody has anything else.
I just had one more
Oh.
question.
Go, Eloise, please.
Last night, I saw the finance committee was meeting with the school committee. Were there surprises?
There were, but there weren't.
Based
because
mostly for capital.
we all, well, I listened to and some others attended the meeting. There's a huge influx for special ed spending, which we're mandatory to spend. So there's nothing you can do about that. And there's a huge increase of students with English as a second language. And that is really having its impact because they do not have any ELL teachers to support them. So they're looking at teachers and a nurse. They need a float nurse, and every district is looking for a float nurse right now. I actually commended them to supporting it because nursing in schools right now is not sustainable. I'm leaving and I'm at my desk before the sunrise, and I'm not coming home before sun sets. And this is a usually 6.5 hour day. Maybe occasionally you stay an extra hour here and there, but I'm working 12-hour days and I'm salary, and they have no intention of paying us any extra at my district. So the fact that they're looking at hiring another nurse was really commendable. So that, of course, is a huge increase in a salary as well. So, I mean, that wasn't a surprise to me. Oh, I think they're also looking at adding a school counselor because of the social emotional fallout of the pandemic. Currently, they have 2 for the middle high school, and now they want 1 for the middle school and 2 for the high school, which they really do need that. I can see that as a parent of a 12th grader this year. So the money that's being spent, in my personal opinion, is being spent well, and it's definitely a need versus a want, which, if you can understand where I'm coming from.
Thank you.
I don't know if that was helpful. You can listen to us.
But nothing from a capital, no surprises from a capital perspective.
No, they've got to fix some fans and stuff like that. I got if you want to wait 2 seconds, I'll run and get my report and I can share this capital expense with you.
But you opened up, Anna.
I know.
This is your fault.
It's not me, it's all Eloise.
It's your fault that we're still here.
Candace's the one who wanted to leave and end the meeting. So I just wanted to hang out with you guys. I mean,
You got to give Janet yes or no questions. Not could you explain? It's a closed-ended question with her. And I can say this about her because I've known her since kindergarten, and that god-awful, horrible girl stole my crutches when we were in kindergarten, and I'm still friends with her 50 years later. Oh, look, she's back. All right,
You are amazing.
why did she steal your crutches?
because she wanted to know what it was like to walk on crutches around the gym floor.
Oh, well, that's fair.
She was getting a feel for nursing even then.
Oh, Eloise, no.
Thank you,
Exactly.
Eloise.
She wanted to work on her
Eloise.
empathy.
Yeah, no, Eloise, she needs no support. No, stop that.
Okay, so capital request is so that's Boylston Elementary, so that doesn't Berlin Memorial, it's back to the when they had their facilities person. They have an egress ceiling problem, which goes back to the venting system that's still in need repair, 56,000. And then both Tohoto and Berlin need to have security access repaired for buzzing in and out because of well, I don't know if any of you heard the TikTok that's going on tomorrow across the nation, that there's going to be mass shootings in all schools tomorrow. We have police stationed in our school tonight and will be on present all day tomorrow. So this is a security, an entrance access control security for the interior doors. They have it for the exterior, but now they're saying you can get in, but now they want another buzz to get past. And this was been recommended by the facility person that came around. So that's 12,000 for Berlin Memorial and 17 for Tohoto. And then the roof vac motors I had already told you about at Tohoto were 15,000. And I don't understand this, but Eloise will. They have a debt service on building bonds, and that's $1,541,900. But I don't think that has anything to do with actually us. He just put it on there because it looks like it's 29,338. It's like a 1.5% difference. I don't understand that. I'm sorry.
It means
But-
when they build the school, you're still paying for it.
Okay, but we're not paying all that money out this year, right?
No, it's proportioned over, it's either, it used to be a flat 20 years maximum. But then when the state got hit with a lot of schools, I think they went up to 25 years.
Okay, so I have this paper. I can.
That should be posted.
I think it is posted. They handed them out. Margaret has a copy if you want to ask her for it, Eloise, when you see her.
I can get
Okay.
Margaret to add that to our Google folder.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of times I can't get into that either.
Oh, well, that's not helpful.
And then the fire department had an ask too for capital planning. I'll get there. Hold on. It is for some type of apparatus for
Oh, it's like an airbag to
yeah,
lift.
oh,
up
the
a car.
airbag. And you know what?
Yeah.
I have to say, he didn't want to mention that we could have used this recently in a very serious life flight situation. But I took it upon myself to say, yes, that's what they needed when they had Skip's emergency, which would be my father-in-law's. This was the piece of equipment that they were lacking to help get him out of where he was quicker.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's pretty standard for most towns to have this, and it sounded like little money for.
It was
Something
like
15,000.
16,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Something like
a
that, yeah.
small amount of money for a big thing, and it had also a long life. Like they're not going to be like, you know,
Mhm.
only useful for a year, and it sounded as though it had many uses that other departments other than the fire department might be able to utilize as well. And I think that was about it.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if that helped or not.
Gives
But
me
Margaret
something else
has
to
all that
ponder.
information, and she could put it into the folder. We could ask her.
Is there a better way, Eloise, to get stuff to you as well?
I would have to ask James. He is my computer guru.
Well, we could put a hard copy in your mailbox, Eloise.
Okay.
I mean, that's not too much. I mean, it's not like Margaret has to walk 5 miles to do that.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, that sounds great.
All right.
I make a motion to adjourn. How's that?
Sounds good. John, you get a second?
I'm already voting yes.
Right. Okay, so
Hey,
I'm
Mary-
gonna,
I'm gonna be politically incorrect there. Happy holidays.
oh, yeah. Happy New Year,
Yes.
happy holidays, everyone. I'm
Everybody.
going to adjourn us at 8:24. Thank you, Peg, so much for attending. You made
Pleasure.
it very fun and lighthearted.